Good morning, students. So today I'm going to start the next part of this chapter: atmosphere, structure, air pressure, and wind system. So that is your global pressure belts. Okay. So now you see in the last video class I have said that because of mainly two factors. Okay, that is your air temperature and altitude. Okay, our pressure is not uniform, it is not even, it is not same at all the places or all the regions of the world. It's not that some regions are there where pressure is high and there are some regions where pressure is low. Okay, atmospheric pressure is low depending on mainly two factors, that is your temperature, air temperature, and altitude from the earth's surface. Okay, that means first is your air temperature. Okay, so air temperature, how it affects: if temperature is high, that means your pressure will be low. High temperature means low pressure. Okay, if temperature is high, okay, high temperature means low pressure. Okay, and again low temperature means there will be high pressure. Okay, and altitude. Okay, how does altitude it affects the pressure of an area? That means if with increase in altitude, okay, if altitude means height, okay, if altitude increases, what will happen? Air pressure will go on decreasing. Okay, so depending on these two factors, that is your air pressure, air temperature and your altitude from the earth's surface, atmospheric pressure, okay, it differs from place to place. Okay, now wind, okay, wind or air, okay, it moves from a region of high pressure to a region of low pressure. Okay, from a high pressure region towards a low pressure region. Okay, the air it moves. Okay, air it moves from high pressure region towards a low pressure region. Okay, so that movement of air, okay, from a region or from a place of high pressure towards a place of low pressure, okay, that is called your what? Wind. Okay, so basically there are two pressure, you can say one is a low pressure and one is a high pressure. So wind it or air, okay, it moves from a high pressure region towards a low pressure region, and that is called your wind. Okay, now in the world there are basically four pressure belts. Okay, so first is your equatorial low pressure belt. Okay, then subtropical high pressure belt, subpolar low pressure belt, and polar high pressure belts. Okay, so in this there in these four pressure belts, okay, pressure is high in mainly in two belt, that is your subtropical and polar. Okay, pressure is high, air pressure is high there, and equatorial and the subpolar region there the pressure, air pressure is low. Okay, so there are basically these four pressure belts in the world. So in this diagram and in your textbook also there is a diagram given on this pressure belts. Okay, so you see here, first is your equatorial region. Okay, equatorial region, it has a low pressure, that is why it is called equatorial low pressure belt. Okay, air pressure is low there. Then you have two subtropical high pressure belts. Okay, these two subtropical region, it has high pressure. Then your subpolar, there are two subpolar low pressure belts, and the last is your polar high pressure belts. Okay, so these are the pressure belts of the world. Now let us see about the characteristics of each of the pressure belts. So first is your equatorial low pressure belt. Okay, so equatorial region, okay, you see in this equatorial region what happens? The sun, okay, the sun rays, it falls direct. Okay, direct, the sun rays, it falls in a direct path. Okay, the distance is very less, and that is why the equatorial region, okay, the equatorial region, the temperature remains high in this equator. Okay, in the region near the equator, because sun rays it falls directly. Okay, that is why the temperature it remains high, and we know that if temperature is high, then what will happen? The air becomes warm, hot air. Okay, and hot air it moves upward, it rises upwards, is not it? And therefore its density is also low. Yes, So sun rays, because sun rays it fall vertically, okay, vertically directly in this equatorial region, okay, and that is why the temperature it remains high, okay, and therefore because of high temperature the pressure or density it remains low, okay. So that is why in this equatorial region, okay, the region experiences a low pressure because of this high temperature, okay. Now near the equatorial region, okay, water or oceans or seas are there, okay, a huge number of water bodies are there, and therefore this uh, warm air, okay, it absorbs huge amount of moisture or water vapor from these water bodies, okay. So air it contains a lot of water vapor, okay, because waters bodies are there, a lot of oceans and seas are there, okay. Now because you see in this equatorial region, okay, there is no any kind of your vertical movement, sorry, no any kind of a horizontal movement, only vertical movement is there, okay. That means air it rises upward, it is called vertical, okay. Warm air is light, okay, and that is why it moves or it rises upward, okay. There is no horizontal parallel like this, there is no such kind of movement in the equatorial region, okay. So this area it remains in a very calm situation, okay, that is called your equatorial doldrum, okay. So this equatorial low pressure belt it is also called as your equatorial doldrum, okay. Why? Because there is no horizontal movement of air, okay. Air it rises upward only because the air is warm, okay. So these are the basically the characteristics of this equatorial low pressure belt. Then is your subtropical high pressure belts, okay. So there are two subtropical high pressure belts, okay. Now you see in this equatorial region, okay, when the air it is warm air, and warm air rises upward, sorry, and it comes towards this subtropical high pressure belt, okay. And gradually what happens when this warm air rises up, okay, it becomes cold, okay. So in suppose this is the earth and this is the equatorial region, and these are the two subtropical high pressure belt, okay. So warm air it rises upward, okay, like this, upward, okay, and that is why it becomes cold, okay. This warm air gradually becomes cold, and we on that low temperature, okay, if the temperature is low then the pressure will be high, yes. So that is why in this subtropical belt, okay, a high pressure area is formed, okay. Why? Because this air from the equatorial region rises, it moves toward the north and south, okay, toward north and south, gradually becomes cold, okay. So this cold air, and also air from the subpolar belt also, okay, because of the earth's rotation, okay, earth it rotates from west to east, okay. So because of this rotation of the earth, okay, the air it deflects towards this subtropical high pressure belt, okay. So both this mixing of cold air, okay, it makes the temperature of this region low, and therefore high pressure it prevails in this subtropical region, okay. Now in the middle ages, okay, the European navigators, okay, they used to find it very difficult to sail their ships or boats, okay, because of high pressure the movement of air is very less, okay. So because of that they could not sail their ships, okay, or boats. So what they used to do, they used to throw their horses, okay, or any heavy loaded items, okay, from the ships, so that the ship can become light, okay, it does not become too much heavy, okay, and so that it becomes easy for them to sail their ship or boats, okay. So that is why this belt is also known as your horse latitude, okay. Next you see subpolar low pressure belt, okay. Now due to the earth's rotational movement, okay, earth rotates from west to east, okay, this is called rotation, Okay, and when the earth it moves around the sun, it is called your revolution. Okay, now due to the earth's rotation, okay, rotational movement, air it deflects. Okay, deflects means it slightly moves away. Okay, deflects, bends, okay, from the subpolar region towards the subtropical region. Okay, in the here also in the last part also I have to say that air it moved because of the earth's rotational, okay, rotational movement. Air it moves from this subpolar low pressure belts, okay, towards the subtropical region. Okay, so as a result what happened, the amount of air, okay, or the volume of air in this subpolar belt it becomes low. Okay, the volume of air becomes low, and therefore density it is also low, and pressure is therefore low. Okay, and that is why a low pressure belt or low pressure region is formed in the subpolar region. Okay, so see, mainly why? Because of the earth's rotational force. Okay, rotation from west to east, the wind it deflects, okay, deflects from the subpolar region towards the subtropical region. Suppose this is subtropical region and this is the subpolar region. So like this the air it deflects. Okay, and here the air volume of air, because it become less here, therefore a low pressure is formed in this region. Okay, that is called your subpolar low pressure belt. Then last one is a polar high pressure belt. Okay, now in the polar regions sun rays it falls in an inclined manner. Okay, very far, it takes a long time to reach there. Okay, and that is why the heat is very less. Yes, temperature is very low there. Most of the areas are covered with snow. Okay, so low temperature means what? High pressure. Those regions which have low temperature it will have high pressure. Okay, so same here, polar region. Okay, because temperature is low. Okay, most of the areas are covered with snow and glaciers and ice. Okay, so it is very cold region, temperature is low, and therefore high pressure prevails there. Okay, and air is very dense. Okay, it cannot absorb uh, water vapor. Okay, so these are the 4 pressure belts. So all of you go through the textbooks, okay, and you learn, you read this part.